I've looked at a lot of these anti-trans women, regardless of sexual orientation or anything else, and a lot of them just straight up look like men.
You can always tell when someone who doesn't know what they're talking about, especially around politics, insists on talking about that subject anyway.
You said you're fine with biological men competing in women's
Because
sport.
a trans woman is a woman.
This person is pandering. This person wants your vote.
What's up with that?
Example? No, of course not. No, we just carry on.
I'm being a little bit of a goof, you see.
I'm almost surprised that they didn't try and get him done for assault for doing this. The whole harassment thing was bogus. This person is taking a side because he's an ideologue. People are just so obsessed with keeping up with all this political esoterica, but they forget to just live their fucking life and deal with things as they come up. Aren't you supposed to be transitioning so that you're happier in your own skin? So you can live your own life on your own terms and be happier?
Sorry, that's just anti-trans.
Yeah, so Britain just outlawed being masculine for women. London Storm. I don't know what we're referring to. It's December 4th. I don't know that there's been any kind of update to the Supreme Court decision or any kind of guidance. My understanding is they still haven't laid it before Parliament. Hence why the TERFs and the right-wingers are complaining about how long it's taking, saying that they're sitting on it. I don't really know what the reason is for it taking so long. Britain's new bathroom rule is already falling apart. What new bathroom rule? There was a clarification to the Equality Act, meaning that woman means born female. There wasn't a new bathroom rule, it's just that bathrooms are affected by this, because now it's a bit different saying that women are owed the right to single-sex spaces when women means women, females only. So there's updates needed to the guidance. The UK government has admitted there's no document that can reliably prove anyone's sex at birth. Doesn't really matter. Which means everything now depends on how a person looks. This is always how it's been. This is a continuation of how it's always been. Passing trans women get waved through. Non-passing trans women get blocked. Non-passing trans women shouldn't use women's spaces because they don't pass. They look like men. Masculine cis women get mistaken for men. I don't know why we're acting like this is a new thing or something that's been caused by the update to the Supreme Court, by the clarification to the Equality Act. This has always been a thing that's happened once in a while. I mean, if you're masculine and you're a woman, yes, you might get mistaken for a man. That is just how it is. And trans men end up with no workable option at all. Well, not really. You're probably not going to get any shit using the men's, especially if you pass. In this video, I break down why the ruling is unworkable in practice, how it affects real people, and what it says about the direction the government is heading. Time to end the culture war. Okay. I know this seems like it's going to be extremely cooked, but let's see.
I just left the United Kingdom for Portugal, and I think that was a really good decision.
Okay, so an American telling us how our country is. Apparently they either lived or have been to the UK recently. That doesn't mean that you know what you're talking about.
And the main reason I think that is because I don't know Portuguese, so whenever I see the news, I just nod along and pretend I know what they're talking about. They could be saying, hey, that London Storm is a terrible person and we need to deport them in particular. And I would be like, oh cool, my name got mentioned. That's really amazing. But in the UK, I had the considerable disadvantage of actually knowing the language, which means I was privy to all kinds of really fun debates and discussions, and we're going to talk about that now.
Yeah, you can tune that shit out. I don't know why you're whining about this, but okay.
Right as I was leaving the United Kingdom, there was a deluge of news about trans people, which is pretty common in the UK these days. They're kind of obsessed with the subject, sort of like everybody else in the Anglosphere, but man, are they neurotic about it. Like, sure, the US is also obsessed with the subject to the point where the President of the United States is constantly saying, the Democrats want transgender for everybody, and nobody knows what that means, but it sounds good, I guess. If you're a Republican, you're like, yeah, the Democrats do want transgender for everybody, so it makes no sense. But over here in the UK, or over there in the UK, I'm not there anymore, I keep forgetting, it's a little bit different. The character is more measured, more reasonable, more responsible sounding. It's all hushed tones, nobody is being overdramatic about it. Except Graham Linehan, who broke a trans girl's phone. Graham Linehan, for context,
Yes, why did he do that? Listen, it wasn't good that he did that. He caught a charge for it. That was deserved. But he did it because this person kept shoving their phone in everyone's face constantly. Why were they there? Why are people grooming young trans people into stalking TERFs and like shoving their cameras in people's faces?
Used to be a successful writer for TV shows. Now he spends all his time arguing with trans people on Twitter, which is a fantastic use of your time. But luckily he has plenty of time because
I'm glad that that was kind of a tacit indictment of like the trans people on Twitter as well.
he's so obsessed with the subject that his wife divorced him over it. Apparently, Mr. Linehan had been arguing with one trans girl in particular, and this transitioned to a real-life thing where he insulted her and, like, damaged her phone. He was
I love how one-sided it is. This Sophia Brooks person is a harasser. That's what they did. They were as bad as each other.
charged with harassment and damaging the phone, but of course, he got off on the harassment charge.
Yes, because they were as bad as each other. It was internet shit-flinging, should never have been in court. The phone thing, yeah, he fucked up there. He ate a charge. For some reason, he's appealing it. I don't know why. The harassment thing was bogus. It was nonsense. This Sophia Brooks person, since they were a kid, has been showing up to, like, TERF shit, to, like, cause trouble. I don't know if you can say that someone is harassing someone like that who is showing up to events to cause trouble. At that point, you're opening yourself up to criticism, you know? Also, what is this all over the microphone? It's like dog hair all over the mic, Jesus.
And just has to pay for the phone. The UK media, being what it is, was furious. They stood up in defiance and shouted, "We respect..."
The UK media? Do you mean like GB News and shit like that? Can you generalize the UK media to like GB News?
The rights of every person, named Graham Linehan in particular. They didn't care that he had harassed a trans girl and damaged her phone. They acted like he was the victim.
Okay, what did the trans girl, quote-unquote trans girl, do? He's never going to say, is he?
This is a 50-something-year-old man we're talking about here. This is not a child. And the person he was against was a child. Now,
yes, a child presumably taking instruction from and seen hanging out with an awful lot of like middle-aged men who think they're women. One of whom is a paedophile, that being Stephanie Hayden. One of which is Frida Wallace, who likes to send pictures of themselves spanking old men in clubs to people who never asked for it. I've received that kind of thing. Jack Jewell has received that kind of thing. He mentions it in a video. He was meant to like debate this person. And after they sent him like weird pictures of himself spanking an old man in a club, he declined to talk to them anymore, surprisingly. Who was the other one? That Lindsay Watson or something? Like, they're all fucking freaks. I like how we just question it on one side but not the other. I think Graham Linehan is also a fucking loser. The way he acts on Twitter is embarrassing. But, like, taking sides on this is just so fucking cringe. It's so obvious that you're an ideologue when you frame things this way. That'd be like if I acted like Graham Linehan is like the paragon of fucking dignity, and that every single thing that he did in this whole ordeal was perfectly justifiable. No, he's as bad as the other person. I'm saying both of them are bad.
Imagine, if you would. Let's do a small thought experiment here. What if the situation had been exactly the opposite? What if a trans activist had damaged the phone of somebody they'd been harassing online for quite a while? How would the press react to that? Well, presumably that much worse.
Depends on the press. If it was the BBC, it probably would have just been worded the other way because the BBC just kind of says what happens. If it's GB News, then yeah, it probably would have been up in arms. But that's how it is everywhere. You get partisan news outlets that push partisan beliefs. And I hate how we're generalising the UK press as if it all sings from the same hymn sheet. It doesn't. We've got partisan news on both sides. We've got things like the BBC, which are fairly neutral and just kind of, for the most part, tell things like they are.
Since they're already treating Graham Linehan like he did nothing wrong. And I mean...
What, by reporting that he was found guilty of, was it assault or something, criminal damage? If I'm to talk about UK media, BBC is the first thing I'm going on. This isn't sticking up for him, it's telling you what happened. He was found guilty of damaging a phone, that's because he damaged a phone. He was cleared of harassing a trans activist because they were as bad as each other. It wasn't one-way harassment the way this person is trying to make you believe. Like, you wanna treat it as if Graham Linehan was just harassing some innocent trans woman and then came across her and like smacked her phone out of her hand. You can do that, but you will be fucking lying. Like, this person is a fucking menace and has obviously been groomed by some of these older, like, trans people.
Record. Just record.
Is this someone who's a victim, or is this someone engaging in harassment themselves and got harassed back? They're as bad as each other. Sorry.
So how is it a hate fest? What's your reasoning? No, you can't just say it is. What is it?
No, you keep on saying that sex is immutable and that's a fact, so I'm going to refuse to explain how it's a hate fest.
So you don't know. You don't know what you're talking about, do you?
I don't know what you're talking about. Get the angle.
Like, this is, like, gross.
Going from behind.
What's your name?
Like, come on a sec, actually. Imagine... Like, let's take this guy's hypothetical. Imagine a so-called trans woman knocked the phone out of the hand of someone. What if that person was doing this kind of thing? Wouldn't you potentially think, well, it's not okay to knock someone's phone out of their hand, but I can see why they did it. If they're, like, shoving their phone in your face. If I saw a trans woman knock the phone out of some guy's hand, it was shoving it in their face and, like, annoying them. Like, giving them shit, harassing them. That's probably how I'd think of it. Like, yeah, you're probably going to catch a charge for that, but I can see why you'd end up doing something like that. Don't think it should really be okay or, like, normalized to just knock people's phones out of their hands, because you are, in fact, allowed to record people in public. It is what it is. But there's a part of it that's understandable. There's a part of the Graham Linehan thing, knocking this Sophia Brooks person's phone out of their hand, that is understandable. This person apparently does not know what he's talking about with this whole thing. He just hears about it, immediately takes the side of the trans person. Because Graham Linehan's a fucking cringe lord on the internet. And no one really knows who this Sophia Brooks person is. Well, if you do any digging, you realise that they have not exactly been behaving in a becoming manner. And they're hanging out with a lot of old fucking trans people who themselves sometimes are harassers. Frida Wallace once got kicked off of fucking Twitter for telling someone to kill themselves. Should that person be hanging around with teenage boys?
Goddess.
Oh, okay, no.
Maria.
Yeah. Okay, no.
Maria.
Yeah, Maria.
Why did you accuse me of...
Actually, I tell you what, there kind of is a counterpoint to the Graham Linehan thing. When we saw that Cozzy guy shoving his camera in some supposed trans woman's face, eventually the so-called trans woman does knock it out of his hand. And you know what? As much as I felt like that was a mistake, you shouldn't really do that. It's not a very legal thing to do. I sympathise with that person. So I don't know, man.
of lying about your assault when I never even talked about it.
I don't remember you.
No, you just randomly accused me of lying about your assault one day on Twitter.
Well, maybe...
Imagine confronting someone with your camera in their face because they said something about you on Twitter.
The only reason I would accuse you of that is because you did. No, I do not. I do not lie.
About the assault. Yeah, you do.
No, you're just silly.
You instigated it and then cried when you got assaulted.
How did I instigate it? Did you actually
went up
see
to
what happened?
And you filmed it.
Yeah, I filmed.
Yeah, so the worst thing is this person is like stupid. Maria instigated getting punched by someone at a different event because they went up to them and filmed them. Okay, so you are instigating then? You're instigating right now? Fucking Chris Chan looking ass. That's what you're doing? Are you instigating? So if she hits you, you'll accept that it's okay? Because you're instigating? Because you're doing the exact thing that you're saying that she's doing?
People who were filming us.
Yeah, and then you... Listen. I'm building up.
Don't do what? Defend myself from your vicious, nasty misogyny. Fuck off. Just
Shut up
fuck
for a
off.
second. I'm building up to something. Because when I got assaulted for filming at an event...
He got assaulted, his phone got knocked out of his hand. Yeah, sure. That was like the most technical assault fucking ever.
You didn't get assaulted. You had somebody... No, you did not.
They attempted to punch me. That's assault. That's common assault.
They didn't.
And they tried
Graham Linehan did not attempt to punch this person. We've seen it like so many times, man.
to slap my...
No, you didn't.
That's common assault by beating.
No, he didn't. He
got
tapped your
convicted.
camera.
Mark Weidler got convicted.
I know he did, because you went
Oh, is that someone else? Oh, I don't know, man.
running to the police like a little crybaby.
2019.
People called the police because I was punched to the ground by people like you. Well, obviously, it's all on film. The judge saw it. And one of my
Why are you
assailants...
trembling?
Sorry?
Why are you trembling?
Because I'm very, very
adrenaline
angry.
Getting off on, like, pissing off old women. How nice.
Yes, of course I am extremely angry. I always get angry at misogynists, at nasty pig.
Go away.
You no, you don't tell me what to do.
I suggest.
Prick.
Very satisfying at the end there.
Oh, see you tomorrow if you're around.
Why do you think it's acceptable to call teenagers domestic terrorists? Here I am with
Yeah, so that's what actually happened.
Graham Linehan, the man who called me a domestic terrorist.
I don't even know if this is chronological. Does that mean that after the phone was knocked out, they came back and did it some more?
This groomer has been filming people all day.
And you've been calling
It's true, he has been filming people all day.
children domestic terrorists on Twitter.
Scumbag.
You're a scumbag. You're the
These people are as bad as each other, I'm sorry. Listen, I know where I can find this footage quite easily. Like, this utter moron made a video shitting on Graham Linehan, which is fair enough. I don't like Graham Linehan either. But yeah, they showed all this, footage. They showed all this footage of this Sophia Brooks loser shoving their camera in people's faces whilst trying to pretend on the voiceover that this person's some innocent, like, person. It's so fucking ridiculous. So yeah, we can see what this person was getting up to. So this fucking idiot is just not looking into any of this and just making assumptions based on what is, like, expedient based on his fucking ideology. It's so embarrassing. Like, you can see. Look at this shit, man. Like, look at this on this side. This person doesn't want to be filmed, so they're, like, holding this thing up and they're trying to, like, get their camera in there. Like, why not take the hint? If someone doesn't want to be filmed, why not just not film them? And that goes all ways. It's exactly the same as when I see these, like, idiot fucking auditors. And it's like, just because you can do that and it's legal to do that doesn't make it right. Doesn't mean that you have to then film everyone you come across. And when they say no, just carry on doing it anyway. But yeah, you can see, like, moving around the camera, hassling all these people who clearly don't want him here. People trying to gently remove him. What's this, like, tucked in shirt as well? Looks ridiculous. It's, like, utterly embarrassing. When you actually look into what this person acts like. Oh, he put his hand on someone there. Jesus, you're not supposed to do that. Someone holds the hand up, which obviously you're legally allowed to do. Grabs the hand right there. I'm almost surprised that they didn't try and get him done for assault for doing this. It's almost as much of an assault as what fucking Graham Linehan did to him. I.e., really not one, but you're not really supposed to put your hands on people, especially when you're the one at the event that you shouldn't be at, behaving in a way that other people are not very happy with. So yeah, doesn't make it okay what Graham Linehan did, but can you understand why someone would feel driven to that? Got more of them doing the same thing. Thank you for providing this footage of your little protege being a harasser. Very nice. Okay, so do we understand the whole Sophia Brooks thing? They're a harasser. Graham Linehan's a harasser. The whole harassment thing was bogus. This person is taking a side because he's an ideologue, or because he's stupid, or because he's easily manipulated, and thinks that this is, like, good person shit, when actually it's just being a moron.
I mean, that's just the most recent story. It's not like that story stands out that much from any of the others happening in that hell country. It's a
hell country. You're not even trans, bro. I'm trans. It's not that bad here. Go to the fucking Middle East. Go to parts of Africa and be trans there, you know?
very common scenario these days where something happens to a trans person and the media says, wow, why was the trans person in proximity to another person to be harassed?
Example?
What's up with that?
Example? No, of course not. No, we just carry on.
The situation for trans people in the UK has changed so dramatically in just
Not really.
8 years. 8 years ago, Theresa May was running the country. She was a conservative politician. She supported pro-trans laws. She advocated on behalf of trans people. And that's unthinkable.
Yeah, consider the culture back then versus now. We weren't really supposed to talk about trans in the way that someone like I do, in the way that a lot of these gender critical types do. It's become normalized because we start realizing how anti-free speech quite a lot of the trans activism stuff is. We start realizing how dodgy a lot of the ideas are, how we're really just pretending that the word woman has no definition in order to fit people that aren't women into the category of woman. We're realizing that plenty of women are actually not very happy sharing their spaces with male people because some of them have trauma. Lots of them are just very used to expecting single-sex spaces, and that's not what they're getting anymore. We're realizing that trans women in women's sports is a completely preposterous idea. We're realizing that children don't really have the ability to know whether they're going to have kids for the rest of their life, and that a lot of the evidence base for transitioning kids is very weak. So yeah, a lot's changed in that respect, but like being trans in the UK has not really changed very much. If anything, there's more like trans people around than ever. I get less shit than I used to. Like I used to get the odd like person shout something at me from like a car window or whatever. And personally, I don't give a fuck because people like that are weak. You know what I mean? They're driving away, having just called you something. It's because they're pussies. But like, I don't get any of that anymore. No one cares. So yeah, like, I'm not surprised that this person has probably just been listening to a lot of TRA types. When actually all of their shit, all of the way they feel about how things are is based on this like political esoterica. Their life probably hasn't changed much materially. The main difference for trans people between say 8 years ago and now is that the waiting lists on the NHS have gotten longer and longer. And I do agree that's bad. I do agree that's a problem.
Today, I mean, the Labour Party isn't, the Lib Dems aren't, definitely
What?
today. I mean, the Labour Party isn't, the Lib Dems aren't.
The Lib Dems aren't pro-trans? What? We've got things about transphobia, trans rights 101, talking about gender expression aligning with gender identity, even though gender identity is a complete unfalsifiable. It really hasn't been proven to exist the way people say it does. They've changed the gender quota rules, but that's fine. Exclude trans people from gender diversity quotas. Well, male people taking up space as women in quotas is like extremely unfeminist. They're very pro-trans. This person does not know what he's talking about, and he's not going to give any examples. I already know.
Definitely Reform aren't. Almost nobody is. In fact, the only
But why should they? Trans people are almost nothing of the population.
party leader that's actually stood up consistently for trans people is Zach Polanski of the...
Yep, and as a trans person, I fucking hate Zach Polanski. His takes on trans are fucking retarded. Dies on the stupidest hills around, like, trans shit. Oh, yeah, around here. And by the way, it's really obnoxious. Because you've got Zach Polanski. You have to do the what is a woman thing. It's really fucking obnoxious. The problem is the way that Zach Polanski responds to this.
Let's have a conversation about that. That's about women's rights. That's not about trans rights.
Okay, but actually you want to trample on women's rights in sport?
No, I don't at all.
You said you're fine with biological men competing in women's sport.
Because a trans woman is a woman, so I'm not...
There we go. There we go. This person is not sticking up for trans people. This person is pandering. This person wants your vote, and he knows that most of the other major parties are not going to say shit like this. So he does, because he knows he's going to get a certain chunk of the vote by pushing shit like this. Not a big chunk of the vote, and he's not going to fucking win, which is a good thing, because, I don't know, like, go watch him on The Rest is Politics. This guy, when it comes to things like economics, he doesn't have a fucking clue. His, like, the people he listens to on economics are like Gary's Economics, who's just like, tax the rich, which ain't gonna do it. Maybe it'll help a little bit, but Labour are already doing that. They've got the fucking mansion tax. So literally, they're doing what he's saying. He doesn't seem to know the difference between, like, debt and deficit. Listens to, like, Gary's Economics, listens to, like, fucking Marxists, doesn't listen to actual economists. Seems to just not think that a whole lot of, like, economics and shit like that is even real. Like, I don't know. Watch him on that Rory Stewart thing. It's fucking embarrassing. And trans people fall for this guy because he panders. And idiots like this are like, oh my God, he's so cool. He sticks up for trans. Who's he sticking up for? He's sticking up for me. I think he's a retard.
The actual problem in this
Can a
country.
woman have a penis?
Yes.
The other thing is, Piers Morgan is just farming you for clips like this. Like, why die on this hill? Why give him what he wants? Why not just, I'm here to talk about fucking Israel Hamas. I'm here to talk about shit that actually matters. I'm not here for the what is a woman shit. Why not just do that? But then if he did that, he'd get called transphobic. Anyway, that's Zach Polanski. Absolute moron. Terrible position on trans people. And that's me, a trans person, saying that. This idiot can be as impressed as he wants by someone as fucking feeble as Zach Polanski. I'm not.
Almost nobody is. In fact, the only party leader that's actually stood up consistently for trans people is Zach Polanski of the Green Party. Unless you count Jeremy Corbyn, but he's been through so many parties.
Jeremy Corbyn, Jesus Christ. If you feel like those are your only options, that is Zach Polanski or Jeremy Corbyn. Yeah, I can see why trans people are actually depressed now. It's making more sense. Fucking hell.
Hard to declare him the leader of almost anything. And I have to give credit where credit is due, because all of this, every last bit of it, comes down to one person and her moves on this subject.
Not really, no. You're actually discrediting a hell of a lot of people that aren't JK Rowling, who have done an awful lot.
JK Rowling, of course. It may seem hard to believe now, but at one point the main thing people made fun of JK Rowling for was retconning all of her characters to be gay. It's amazing how quickly things change. Much like her fellow washed-up writer Graham Linehan, JK Rowling has spent boatloads of time advocating on behalf...
Can we say JK Rowling is washed up? When JK Rowling, she might be a billionaire again. She lost billionaire status from giving so much to charity. Harry Potter is still fucking massive. Compared to Graham Linehan, I don't think I'd say washed up. She's done her thing and now she's reaping the rewards. There's just Noah Samson without the pedo tash. There is a bit of the somehow less masculine Noah Samson going on here.
Rowling has spent boatloads of time advocating on behalf of the anti-trans cause. And worse still, she's also donated...
And again, that's a framing thing. To someone like JK Rowling, she's not an anti-trans activist. She's a pro-women's activist. And you'd really have to show why it's not pro-women, which none of these people have ever convincingly done. You're just framing it a certain way.
Millions of dollars to organizations dedicated to stamping out trans rights. Many of these organizations are also conservative on issues like abortion and gay rights, but they...
Such as?
They assure us, don't worry, we're not coming for those.
Who are we talking about? For Women Scotland? For Women Scotland against gay rights? Are we thinking of someone like LGBT Alliance? I feel like you really can't say that they're against gay rights. I don't know that they're anti-abortion. We can just say this stuff and idiots will eat it up. It's so embarrassing. Is no one noticing that this guy is giving no examples for anything whatsoever? Excellent video showing what you have to put up with. Bro, tune out. This is a really shit video. I don't know how people get impressed by stuff like this.
That would be unthinkable. Earlier this year, one of the groups that JK Rowling supports made their way to the United Kingdom's Supreme Court.
Okay, are they anti-abortion? Are they anti-gay rights for Women Scotland? I bet they're not.
Were there to argue that trans people bad, and of course...
No, they weren't. They were there to argue that women means female, and that's how it should be in law.
The court was like, yes, trans people bad. And that's
fucking retarded. They literally said, this isn't supposed to diminish trans rights. Trans people still have their rights. This is just what the Equality Act has always meant. And certainly, there is no doubt, means now.
Reduction, sure, I'm being a little bit funny. I'm being a little bit of a goof, you see. But that's essentially what happened.
Oh, yeah. Say ridiculous fucking shit and then hide behind irony. And it's essentially what happened. So you're not being a goof. You actually mean what you're saying. But you don't know what you're talking about. So, I don't know, man.
And it is going to have reverberating impacts across the whole of UK society.
How so? The Supreme Court decision was in fucking April. What's changed? What is different now? I don't know, man. I can't think of anything. My life hasn't changed from it. I don't really leave my house much. I use male spaces or third spaces now. And I have for quite a long time at this point. Nothing has changed for me. People are just so obsessed with keeping up with all this political esoterica. and getting upset at every change that might be like marginally unfavorable towards trans people, but they forget to just live their fucking life and deal with things as they come up. And things are gonna, improve sometimes, get worse sometimes. Laws are gonna be a bit more favorable, a bit less favorable. You still have your fucking life. Why not go live it instead of worrying about this shit constantly? What's the point in transitioning if you transition only to spend all your time worrying about the fucking political esoterica around being trans? Aren't you supposed to be transitioning so that you're happier in your own skin, so you can live your own life on your own terms and be happier? Like, it doesn't make any fucking sense. I've not heard any legitimate accounts of a trans person's life actually getting materially that much worse from the Supreme Court thing. It's just things like bathrooms. Well, I don't know, man. Most of us, we use this kind of, you're being forcibly outed if you're using the male bathroom as a trans woman. Most trans women don't pass in the first place. Most of us are being forcibly outed every time someone lays eyes on us because they can tell. I'm sorry. Every time we open our mouths, someone might look at me and see a female. Some people do, some people don't, I find. And then when I start talking, they realize, that's actually a dude. They've got a lower voice. I'm outing myself just by talking. So how the fuck does it work that trans people should be owed to use the bathroom of the gender identity they have, as if you can even show that? Or they're being outed when we're being outed constantly. It doesn't make any sense.
In the ruling, the Supreme Court directly addressed how to deal with bathrooms. A transgender man cannot go into the men's room because he is biologically...
We're not talking about the Supreme Court ruling now. We're talking about the interim guidance. I don't even think there's been a full guidance. I don't think one's been issued yet. That's why the right and the TERFs keep complaining about it. What is this guy talking about?
Female, but if he goes into the women's room and women are uncomfortable because of his appearance, either by medical procedure or just because he looks naturally masculine, he may be removed from that bathroom as well.
Well, this is up to businesses. I really hate, you can always tell when someone actually has no idea what they're talking about when it comes to a subject, but they insist on talking about it anyway. We're conflating so many different things here. Hang on, let me just get this again.
Go into the men's room because he is with bathrooms. A transgender man cannot go into the men's room because he is biologically female.
Well, no, he can. It's just that he'll be using the wrong bathroom, technically. But if you actually read the interim guidance, it says that there are situations in which they might be better off using the other sex space. And if there's a third space, they should be able to use the third space anyway. If you truly are just trying to piss, you just want to piss, then you'll use what's available to you and fucking whatever. I don't know. The problem is that people don't just want to piss like they say they do. They want to use bathrooms in order to help affirm their gender identity, which is not what they're there for. They are there for pissing in.
But if he goes into the women's room and women are uncomfortable because of his appearance, either by medical procedure or just because he looks naturally masculine, he may be removed from that bathroom.
Well, anyone might be removed from any bathroom because it's up to the business at the end of the day. I don't know if this idiot understands that there isn't a law around bathrooms. Trespass isn't automatically a legal matter. It can become one. But just a man using a women's toilet, they're not going to get arrested for that. By itself. It's a civil matter. It's something to be dealt with by the owner of the toilet.
Bathroom as well. So essentially, it's not even really sex-based segregation. It's more like looks-based segregation.
Well, in practice, it ends up being that way. It's always been that way. We're acting as if this is a new thing. Super butch lesbians have been getting shit using the women's toilet since long before the fucking Supreme Court thing. And you have to expect a bit of that. If you're gender non-conforming, people might think you're the other sex. It's not hard.
And the UK government has somewhat struggled with issuing guidance on how to deal with these things. One thing they said recently was that there is no reliable form of identification that can determine someone's sex at birth.
Yes, it's never going to be perfect. It's fine that the rule is, or the The guidance is keep it single sex. But there's going to be exceptions. There's going to be stuff that happens. There's going to be people that use the wrong one, and it's not a problem.
So what are the implications of such a policy? It seems...
I think this person thinks that unless their bathroom policy is completely perfect and excludes every single male person from the women's and causes no problems, there's no point in having it. And that's a really retarded way of looking at it. That's extremely essentialist. Like I said, you can always tell when someone who doesn't know what they're talking about, especially around politics, insists on talking about that subject anyway.
Seems like the only way to enforce it would be to just make sure trans people don't exist at all.
That's retarded. No one is saying that. No one's going to stop trans people from existing. To exist as trans, by your own logic, all you have to do is declare yourself trans. Identify as something other than your sex assigned at birth, even though that's nonsense.
Don't offer any forms of ID that actually match to appearance. In fact, don't let trans people have an appearance that differs from sex at birth. That's
never going to happen.
It's the only way to deal with this issue, and eventually...
Well, not... me, dude.
Someone's probably going to try to make a move on that. They're going to try to return to tradition, as it were. I follow...
What are you even talking about? Even someone like Farage... I don't know how he'd force gender conformity on everyone. I don't know why he would. For the most part, with someone like Reform, it kind of seems like trans, gay people, shit like that. It's kind of do what you want, just don't bother us about it, you know? And they're probably not going to give you any special treatment. They're probably not going to give you much of anything.
A lot of anti-trans groups on Facebook, and I'm in tune with all the arguments on Twitter because I hate...
Yeah. Don't be in tune with those arguments because they're all stupid.
Myself and want to suffer. But thankfully that means you don't have to go look. Instead, you can just listen to a funny little anecdote where a bunch of lesbians that hate trans people are now concerned that this ruling and its implications are going to impact them. Some of them have already been harassed in bathrooms. Some of them have already been confused.
Again, as if this is happening because of the Supreme Court. It's not.
Used for men and told they don't belong in the bathroom.
And what happens normally in these situations? They get corrected, they realize they made a mistake, they apologize, they move on. There's been the odd example, I think especially in the States, so totally, completely not to do with the fucking Supreme Court, where someone has been forcibly removed from a bathroom that they should have been in. Is very rare, and unfortunately there's no perfect solution to this. And admitting it isn't to admit that the whole thing is a complete waste of time and doesn't work. It's just being real. It's never going to be perfect. There's always going to be exceptions, even if the rule is sex-based. And that's fine.
Rooms. And there's nothing they can do to stop it because, as the UK government says, there is no form of identification that can prove sex at birth.
No one IDs you at the toilet in the first place.
If only there had been some small group of people warning, hey, it looks like this is going to be bad for everybody.
But you haven't demonstrated how it's bad for anybody. When you say everybody, what do you mean? Extremely butch lesbians? That's not everybody, bro. That's almost nobody. And yeah, we should take those people seriously. But they've had the same problem since before this anyway. So who's everybody? Who are you talking about? According to London Storm, I don't exist. That's fine. I'm used to that shit. I'm used to people assuming that you can only be trans if you're a complete fuckhead, so that's fine.
Not just us, but other people who don't like us. If only there had been some small group going, they're gonna come for you too. If only...
No. Who's coming for who? This whole they're gonna come for you next thing is such bollocks. It's not true. Where are they coming for gay people next? Where are they coming for women next? We just don't live in that world anymore.
Only there had been some small group of people that were completely correct about all of this.
But you haven't demonstrated one iota of them being correct about any of this. Who are they coming for? Having a rule which means that a butch lesbian might be slightly more likely to be accosted in a toilet isn't the government coming for lesbians. I'm sorry.
That they could have listened to, so that this would not have happened. Let's walk through a little scenario together. Imagine you are a passing trans woman. For all I know, you may be, but let's imagine that. Let's imagine you've had some surgeries, and you look great, and you're always
As if you have to have surgeries to look great?
Seen as a woman, and I love that for you. That's really awesome.
Okay, I'll put myself in the position. Had a bunch of surgeries, can no longer do almost any facial expression. Probably have some fucked up nerve in my face that's going to drive me insane for the rest of my life. Can't breathe through my nose. I'm a passing trans woman. I've had surgery, okay?
Live your dreams, queen. Let's imagine that you have to use a locker room. Which one are you going to use? Well,
if I'm really confident in passing, I'll use the women's and take my chances because no one's going to mind, because they're not going to notice. If I didn't pass, I would use the men's. I do use men's spaces. I don't have any problems.
according to law, you have to use the men's room. So,
not law. According to the Equality Act and the guidance that's going to be based off of it. Yes, if you're male, you should use male spaces. That doesn't mean that you might not get away with using the other space if you pass. You're like catastrophizing. This is really stupid.
So imagine you go to the men's locker room and undress because they're communal spaces. Of course people undress. They're going to see what appears.
Mate, at this point, any passing trans person is just gonna fucking go to the gym, do their workout, go home and shower and change there. Let's be real.
To be a woman in the men's locker room. How are they going to respond to that situation? They're
probably going to look at you weird. Someone might be like, should you be there? And then you'll probably say, nah, I'm a dude. Nah, you know, listen, the Equality Act, it is what it is. I've got to be in here now. Do you really want me in there with your daughter when I'm a male? And they'll probably be like, okay, whatever, sure, bro. And carry on about their day. Yep, it might be awkward. It might be weird. You might get stared at. All that kind of stuff. It's embarrassing. You're trans. Your life is gonna be like more complicated in lots of ways. You made that decision. And if you can't handle that, don't fucking transition. If you transition expecting that you're now gonna be treated exactly the same as any member of the other sex, then you're mistaken and you shouldn't transition. Because what's actually gonna happen is not gonna be that.
definitely puts a person at great risk of harm, don't you?
How so? There's no fucking data on this because trans people don't use, trans women don't use male spaces. So how so? What do you have to base this on?
Think, but more to the point, I don't think people are going to be more comfortable with that outcome. Or
okay, so they might get away with using the women's, that's fine.
let's imagine a trans man goes into the women's locker room. I don't know if women's locker rooms are communal because I've never been in one, but I imagine they are, or else what would the big problem be with that? So a trans man goes into a women's locker room and he's there, and they're not going to be happy with that. He can be taken out just because he looks different. It doesn't matter that he is, according to these people, biologically female, that he should be in this space. No, none of that matters at all because he looks different and they don't like that. That's a dangerous road to go down, don't you?
No, that's not dangerous. Because you can just take your chances. The worst that'll happen is that you might get told you can't use that space because it's not right for you. You can't get nicked for just using the wrong bathroom or the wrong locker room. It doesn't make any sense what you're saying. And of course, you don't understand why it is that women don't feel very at ease having males in their midst. And the problem with using these like passing trans person arguments is that all you have to do is flip it on, all you have to do is flip it on its head. Oh, okay, well, what if you're a non-passing trans woman? You use a women's space anyway, but you get regarded as a man, and they're not happy with you being there. You know what I mean? It only works for, like, the tiny subset of trans people, especially when you talk about trans women, that actually pass.
You think? You know, these days, I really don't like being the jerk. I am friendly, I am happy, I like being everyone's friend.
Oh God, we got a nice guy. This explains a lot. Listen, this explains a lot.
But I guess I have to be the jerk because sometimes that's the only way to get a point through. I've looked at a lot of these anti-trans women, regardless of sexual orientation or anything else, and a lot of them just straight up look like men already. So what's this situation going to lead to for them? How do they benefit?
I would imagine if they're a gender non-conforming woman who wants female-only spaces and they look kind of masculine, they might kind of know that that means they might get accosted too. They might not be scared of that because they know that if they open their mouth and just say, hey, I'm a woman, then the person will realize their mistake. We're just not seeing this deluge of all these different incidents where women are now getting thrown out en masse of bathrooms and changing rooms for not looking womanly enough. It happens, but very rarely. And it's going to happen regardless. It was going to keep happening if the Supreme Court did not see things for women in Scotland's way, because it's already been happening. Like, I beg you, actually ask fucking really butch women or trans men and stuff like that how it's been, and they'll fucking tell you. This is not a Supreme Court thing. This is just something that happens when you're gender non-conforming.
Fit here. They're going to be asked their papers too, and of course,
no one's asking anyone's papers.
Those papers can't actually prove anything because as the UK...
There hasn't even been guidance, so how do you even know they'll ask for papers? What papers? That's why they're doing it on looks, like it's always been. There were so many people freaking out when there were these news articles going out, oh, they're going to just do it based on looks now. But they've always done it that way. That's normal. That's how it is. Because who's actually policing these spaces? Generally, the people using them. There's no one outside saying who to use what. You know, if you're in a bar or something, someone might complain to the staff if there's a problem. And a staff member, if they see you go in, might politely let you know that they think you went in the wrong one. Like, it's so stupid, man. Like, is this what you have to do to feel like a good person? Is this what you have to do to get out your fucking pandering points because of your audience? Because you know what your audience wants to hear? It's like deeply cynical. You don't know what you're talking about. From Kansas, wow.
UK government itself says no form of ID is reliable for birth sex. Look, man, I am...
Yeah, so there's always going to be issues. That's fine. Anyone with half a brain knows this. That isn't an argument for you not saying that women should have the right to their own single-sex spaces.
I'm not the smartest person alive. I'll be...
Like, fuck, you know that much.
The first person to admit that. I get a lot of things wrong all the time.
Yeah, like everything in this video. Well done.
But I think if I were setting a trap for myself to walk into like they did, I probably would have noticed.
That's not what's happening. Like, do you seriously not think these people will take the potentially slightly higher chance of them getting accosted if it means that their bathroom is more likely to be single sex? They'd probably rather that than just have to deal with, like, male people in the space. The issue isn't looks. All we want is to be able to go to the front desk and get someone who is acting odd out of the bathroom. Well, yeah, that is obviously true. But in general, you're going to notice whether someone is in the right place or not based on how they look, right? That's always been the case.
And been like, hey guys, I think we're setting a trap for ourselves to walk in. But nobody's done that.
So yes, the terrible trap of I might be accosted in a bathroom. I probably have been anyway if I'm not gender non-conforming. Wow.
Nobody's realized, oh, look, a trap that we set for ourselves. A big bear trap just right in front of us.
I beg you actually talk to the kinds of people you're talking about and stop getting your opinions from Twitter and Facebook.
Maybe we should stop walking before one of us, or more than one of us, gets hit by it.
Yeah, instead just get raped in the fucking women's bathroom by a man. And we complain that someone was in the wrong space. Oh, well, they identify as a woman, so it's fine.
Things really hurt. I mean, let's be honest here. A lot of this has nothing to do with preserving sex-based spaces. A lot of this has nothing to...
Based on what?
...to do with any of these justifications.
That is literally a big part of why this is. They do want single-sex spaces. They want single-sex spaces to be enshrined in law, and it always has been. It's just more clear that that is the case now. What else is it about?
It's just disgust for trans people and what...
This is retarded.
...trans people represent. This kind of non-conformity...
What do we represent?
...that challenges the expectations of society writ large.
More like if they're showing male genitals, looking at children or women oddly. Well, yeah, but some women are not happy even just having someone that's male in their space, even if they're not doing anything. And I think that's fair enough. If it's a women's space, it should be for women. So it's not always about the way they're behaving. It is sometimes just about, this person's a male and I can tell by the way they look. I don't want them in there. It's a bit like how women aren't afraid of men walking near them late at night when they're by themselves if they're acting funny. They just might feel afraid in general because a man is more likely to do X, Y, and Z to you than a woman. It's not really about how they're behaving at that point. It's just that it is a man, and a man represents a bigger risk factor.
People find that threatening. When people have to think about gender, they don't like it very much. They think trans people are icky and weird and look strange, and
this is really stupid.
That's all they need to know. But I have to say, I don't think those things are a reason to exclude a group of people. If I meet a group of people
Okay, it's a good job there's actual reasons then.
I think are weird looking and strange and just bizarre people, I'm not going to be like, hey, I think all of those people should just like fuck off forever. You know why I'm not going to do that? Because they're still people. And that's really what's being forgotten in all of this.
Okay, they're still people, but why can't they just use the facilities of the sex that they were born as? In most cases.
Trans people are real people, and by cracking down on trans rights,
such a good person, man,
constantly like this, you're doing something very dangerous. You're making a group into an outgroup, into an other. And why does...
Oh yeah, trans people until the fucking Supreme Court have never been othered. What are you talking about? Like, fuck me, dude. Oh, it's painful. God, I'm so glad you're getting your fucking good person points, but everything you're saying is like the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life.
That have to be the case? Should trans people have the right to live their lives the way they choose? Why, yes, I certainly...
Who has the full right to live their life the way they choose? If the way you choose to live your life is being a paedophile, you don't really have that right, do you?
Certainly think so, and that also includes some rights that may make you a little bit uncomfortable. It may be a thing that you have to deal with, but in order for society to keep...
How come it's not okay for women to have certain rights that mean that trans people might have to be uncomfortable? For example, by using the space of their sex. Why does this only go one way?
Functioning, the social contract has to work for trans people as much as it does for cis people.
Well, it does.
I'm talking about something much greater philosophically than just trans people. I'm talking about how a society includes people that are different.
Mate, you couldn't get it right for trans people. Don't expand. Don't try and talk about things bigger when you can't get the basics down of the smaller thing. Just don't.
Society includes people it doesn't understand. It's not enough to say, I think trans people should be allowed to exist, because that doesn't actually say much. That doesn't actually say what rights you think a trans person should or shouldn't have. A lot of people will say, why, yes, I think trans people should exist. They should just stay out of every space in public, which is what
nobody is saying whatsoever. Nobody is saying no space at all. In the interim guidance, and like the subsequent like expansions on that, whilst we're waiting for the full guidance, literally it says trans people have to still be provided somewhere, for example, to go pee. They still have that right. Might not be what they prefer, but if they're just there to piss, then they can just use that anyway. And it's probably not a big deal. Third spaces are getting more common. They'll probably continue to get more common because it's just fucking easier. Less hassle. And then they've got no complaints. Because if they don't want to use a third space, then yes, they are using that bathroom primarily to affirm their gender identity. And no one has the right to be able to use like wrong sex spaces just so they can affirm their gender identity. That shouldn't be anyone's priority. First, I think we'd have to prove that gender identity works in the way that people like this say it does. And that is something observable, something you can pick out and say, yep, that person has that gender identity. That means that they're trans, that means they're this. But no one wants any of that because that's gatekeeping. So, hey, I don't know. If you want to include trans people legally and have like clear rights for them, then it'd probably be a better idea if trans was at least definable in the first place. But of course it isn't.
Not exactly the best way to say, I accept you as a person. During the very contentious gay marriage debates in America, which raged on for a very...
have nothing to do with trans people.
Very long time and made a lot of enemies for me personally because I come from a very conservative place. There was one particular argument that...
Yeah, this is one of those. I come from a conservative place and I rebelled and now I'm just as much of a fuckhead in the other direction.
always annoyed the hell out of me. I would always say, why shouldn't gay people have the same rights to marriage that straight people have? And they would say, well, gay people do have the same rights to marriage that straight people.
Yeah, I definitely agree that it's an issue that if a male person is in the space and is making people uncomfortable or doing something they shouldn't be, they have the excuse that they can just say, I identify. Like an example I use is like, if a man is going into a women's toilet and they do have like bad intentions, and someone complains, and then the man is just able to say, nah, I'm just in here because I identify, then they can just get away with it. Like, let's say they were going to do something and got seen before they could and reported. If they were able to just say, no, I'm supposed to be in here, I identify, and that means they're allowed to, that means that they're just going to get another chance to do what they shouldn't be doing, you know? So I do hear what you're saying. But ultimately, that means that it's just kind of on site. That means you can't really trust men in general in the enclosed spaces. And if you see a man, it doesn't actually matter how they're behaving. It's just going to be that person doesn't belong here.
People have. A gay person can marry a person of the opposite sex. And that's
This is like the most unearned, like patronizing attitude I've heard in fucking time. I can't be asked with this anymore. This is a dog shit video. You don't know what you're talking about. Stop getting all your talking points off of Twitter. Actually talk to some women that feel a certain way about men in their spaces, instead of just making up how they feel. Actually come up with examples as to why this is bad for other people, instead of just passing trans people, butch lesbians. Okay, therefore this whole thing is going to like kill everyone. Like, Jesus Christ, man.